When lust strikes and you want to be by yourself watching others have sex, and the goal is to spend, the enjoyment is to spend, then you have to ask yourself, are you more interested in the feeling? Is the addiction coming from the feeling because it feels good? Or is addiction coming from because you want to watch other people, the taboos? Before you think about quitting, or you may be already on your journey to, I don't like to use the word quitting, I say become more conscious of the effects adult entertainment has on you and how it shapes the world. Before you quit, or if you're already on your journey, I think there's a few things to understand. And I think in understanding, it will make the journey smoother, and it will help maybe not stop relapses, but it will help you be much kinder to yourself. So I'm going to start the video just talking about a few little tips. So if you don't want to stick around, if you don't want to wait to the end where I dissect the adult entertainment world a little bit more, at least I'm giving you some tips and you can bounce. But one of the biggest tips, what I've seen out there, is when you are quitting or attempting to quit, like most addictions, they say you should wean yourself off slowly, so you cut down on how much you consume, how much you watch. But one of the things you have to understand is, male or female, you're technically, well, you're not technically, you're watching other people screw, and you're watching people you desire be screwed. So one of the better things to do is, regardless of your sexuality, is to watch people by themselves. Therefore, you're eliminating that third party. It's not a step in towards completely becoming conscious around adult entertainment, but it's a step towards healing yourself and giving yourself back some dignity. Because the effects of longevity of watching adult entertainment is, you will feel inadequate, man or woman. You will feel that what you have got isn't right, and you'll feel your performance isn't that. It isn't a performance. You're no longer in your own lives enjoying, and I'll get to if you don't have a relationship shortly, which is, I believe, a slightly harder step, but not entirely. I'm sort of derailing myself now, but it's interesting because you find people in relationships are still very reliant on adult entertainment. So I think there is a part where you have to separate the two. But the tip is that when you are removing this addiction from your life, you start by realizing what the addiction is. So you are attracted to the person you're watching. You don't need to watch somebody else be with that person. You need to work on building your esteem and watching that person by themselves. The second thing you have to do is understand why you're watching it. And when society labels something taboo, every one of us, we want to know a little bit about it. It's why serial killer books and serial killer documentaries are some of the most streamed things. People want to know. And there's always going to be a tier system to anything, not just sex, not just adult entertainment, not just books. There's always going to be the in crowd. So the in crowd would be people what in their sexual relationships they use bondage. They to them a kink isn't a kink, and they've maybe been around sex and they're exposed to sex, so for them it's slightly different. But for other people, the path to removing so many urges and desires, what you don't feel you're in control of, it stems and it comes from society is very rigid. And that's not to say they're controlling us or this isn't some conspiracy take. This is to say that when a society is created, there will always be some rigid framework, and that rigid framework has expelled sexuality. There are a lot of cultures without sexuality. I'm a huge reader of sexual literature. I love learning about sex in the past and different cultures. When you do a deep dive into the past, if you read about the Ottoman, if you read about the Victorian times, you'll actually see their sexual progression was exactly the same as us. In fact, in some ways, they're doing kinkier things than what we are doing. It's just now the sex has been weaponized. So within that, you have to understand that sex is part of life. Don't hate sex. What I'm seeing is a lot of men and women are being told to hate. So if you're a man, you're being told to hate women. They're devil in disguise. They're weaponizing sex against you. You need to be stoic. But that's also the wrong teaching, because it is your biology. Sex is in our music, it's in our food, it's an energy. It's something when you listen to a great blues record, even through the pain, you hear this sort of sexuality oozing out of it. It's this biological reproduction. We are a visual species. We want to, part of seeing a taboo, part of seeing the sex, we want to see somebody who is in, which is interesting. We'll go into this a little bit more now. We're not going to go too in depth in this video, but we're just going to touch on the surface a little bit. Mainly because there are many controversies in this, which I don't necessarily think the world is ready to hear about. That's not me taking the high road. It's, if you are to read some of the things I've read, or if you were to research into the history of sex, you'll find these things yourself and you understand why I can't talk about them. Example, I'm talking about things like sexuality is much more loose than you think, but we won't get into that because the society now is a little narrow-minded in some aspects. So where was I? So the desire you have comes from the taboo, because society created dispels sexuality. Sometimes our parents dispel it. I grew up in a slight different way of... I grew up in an oppressed place where sexuality was used for reproduction or used as the other way in terms of sort of a nastiness to it. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that another day. So many points here opened. So what I did, I watched pornography like most people, but I fell into a slight different world of the media I was consuming had a lot of sexuality in it. And now I'm older, the media I gravitate towards usually has adult themes what I see other people dispel. I was very much into the films I watched had nudity, so what happened for me was this dissociation where the nudity wasn't a problem. I didn't need to watch a film with nudity. I would be attracted to a film with adult themes, and they were usually European, and they usually had some sexual aspect to it, and that sexuality, in my opinion, was able to work into the meaning of the film. So as I was going through life, I would speak to people, men and women, who were a lot more open about their sexuality. So I'm getting exposed to things in a complete different way. I'm talking to people who are very open about this taboo nature what society has said, to the point where I have coffee table books of nudity. I read erotic poems. So basically my thing became eroticisms, and people can label this as smut, people can label this as high-end smut. I kind of agree. It's kind of the same purpose. It's more of an intellectual pursuit now to seek this thing. But that is sort of ingrained within the culture of things I like. And it's a missing ingredient. When I watch something and somebody's sexuality isn't spoken about, it's like a missing ingredient. I don't need it, but I see it as a missing ingredient. The more mainstream adult entertainment, if you think when we were younger, we used to be more interested in people starting with their clothes off, and then we'd get to the more hardcore stuff at the end. And nowadays we're just skipping through things because we have such access to so many things. And part of the reason is, as we were younger, we were taught this is a taboo. That's where the addiction starts. This is a taboo. If you click on this, you're doing something inappropriate, and because it's filling some lust within inside of you, you're getting double the kick. So do I think quitting is, even though I don't like using that word, do I think it is the step forward? I think the step forward is to be conscious. So I think if you're not in a relationship, you have to understand that watching adult entertainment, just as you consume it in books and media, is different to the actual real thing. In relationships, people also struggle. I say most people also struggle with this. They are two separate things. The sex itself is something what should be enjoyed, and the reason why you watch it is because you don't have that in your normal life. You don't have these taboos in your normal life. You're not living freely within your sexuality, so you then go watch somebody else do it, and then when you in your normal relationships, the frustration happens because you're not getting that. What I see a lot of, if we're just talking relationships now, is both parties or multiple parties will crucify the other person for not understanding sexuality. So if somebody is watching adult entertainment, the thing to do is not ridicule them, is to look at their sexuality, why they are doing this, and if this is something they can be helped with. If the state of, I would say, modern sex relationships is quite bad. But again, do not compare the two. So do I think removing adult entertainment from your life is good for you? I would say yes. The same way, if you remove unhealthy snacks from your life and if you eat healthy, you get this sense of pride when you're able to turn down something what you were otherwise unable not to turn down. I think if you are trying to quit, like most things, understand first why you have the addiction, trace it back. The second thing to do is to not pull the rug away from you. Maybe you watch it once a week. Another thing to do, which helps dispel, and it's definitely helped me, is when you realize a lot of these people are just making money out of you. The trend in life, you watch somebody in clothes when you watch adult entertainment, and then they're out of clothes. And what's happening now, they're in clothes and you're having to pay money to watch them out of clothes. That's where the clever marketing is happening, because you're not allowed to see something, so then therefore the desires and desperations happen, then you go watch it. So when you kind of work out you're weaponizing other people, when you also work out that you're watching somebody who themselves is possibly, not all, but is possibly suffering with their own sexual desires, and once you remove watching other people, be with somebody you desire, once you remove those things, you you will definitely be in a bit more healthier state to quit. The thing you have to then conclude with is, are you able to use your own imagination? Because the need to be by yourself is, and the feeling of spending is, I believe, to be the desire that most people want. You've had a hard day at week. This is time for yourself. This is time to experiment with energies in your body. That's the part you have to come across, and you have to see if you can separate, do I need adult entertainment to enjoy my own body? That's the big separation you have. And then once you come to your body, then you have to think, I want to be in control of my body. I don't need to be doing this every single night. And you will slowly wean yourself off that desire and that addiction. I'm going to stop here because this is a topic I could talk about for a very long time. I might do a follow-up video, but I think this is a good start to the topic. I don't want this going too long. I hope some of this has helped. Ciao.